There is one thing in this world which is more valuable than even diamonds or platinum. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just talking about trust among us humans here. Imagine a world where your job, your security, even your status could vanish overnight, all because of a single shift in what people value most. Leadership has never been about staying in one place. It's all about adapting or about evolving. And today, we are about to deep dive into the fascinating journey of leadership. We will trace back its path from the ancient hunter-gatherers who ruled their clans till the AI revolution of today, which is reshaping our world. This isn't just about history, it's exactly a blueprint for the future of leadership as well. So get ready, because this ride will not only show you where the leadership has been, but it will also tell you where it's going to next. I am Navaneeth Seshadri, your AI leadership coach, and this is Leadership Evolution, which is right from the cavemen to today's AI leaders. That is what we are going to look into this video. So let's travel back in time to the early men time periods. These forest dwellers lived in caves and they depended on wild hunting for their survival. There were usually leaders for each of these clans. This person was typically strong physically and had the skills to make the needed stone weapons and hunted the animals in the forest, and this person also put the food on the table for the rest of the people in the clan. As a result, all the people in this clan considered this strong person as their leader and started following him and respected him as well. He had the first right for anything within that clan, and his word was the law in the group as well. What do you think is the reason for this? He was the strongest and was able to protect the people, and he was able to hunt and also bring food home. That was exactly the reason why. Eventually what happened? You see, there were some other men folks of the clan who were feeling insecure about this particular leader's importance that he was getting, and they felt, although they were not physically as strong to hunt as this person, they were feeling that they were smart enough to get food by other means. As a result came the era of domesticating cattle and other livestock. Simple reason is that people do not want to depend on anyone all the time, is it not? That is just human nature. These people with the poultry and cattle farms now were able to barter milk, they were able to barter wool and meat for all other services and food products. Now, if you look at the power shift that has happened, the muscular strong man hunter is no longer considered the leader. The people now with maximum cattle and livestock were considered default leaders, and those people had the maximum influence on the rest of the society. But then life for these people also became insecure eventually, because some people who were depending on their barter actually felt over dependence on them, and they felt it was risky and it was making them needy. Instead, those people improvised and started sowing seeds in the soil, and those people started using the farm animals to plow and harvest food for agricultural produce themselves. You see, the beauty here actually was that these landowners started employing the strong muscular hunter-man types who were now jobless. Those people were asked to come and plow these agricultural land fields which these people owned, since it needed a lot of strength. The owners also started renting or hiring animals from the so-called cattle farmers, and they started using these animals for their agricultural work as well. In exchange, they paid the compensation as a portion of their produce. How smart, is it not? What just happened? The leaders of earlier days now became their employees or their trading partners, if you just noticed. After the barter, whatever remaining produce was with the owner of the land, it was a surplus. This they could sell and they could make wealth as well. The wealthier the person was, the more the land he or she could own. What just happened? The person owning maximum area of the land became an influential figure, and people obviously followed them as leader figures. That's what just happened. It was no longer the cattle farmers who were leading the show until then. Again, people do not want to be dependent on anyone for too long, is it not? That's just the way we are built. You see, there was a problem. No one wanted to directly buy produce from these landowners, because these owners could then monopolize the price of the barter. They had the advantage, obviously. As a result, Here also came demand for all other products using agricultural produce as the raw product, and because of that, as a result, industries and factories started to emerge. You may know that the rise of industrial era actually began with granaries and food related industries and later on went on to automobiles and other segments slowly. So what just happened? The people who were working for the landowners in the agricultural fields had to toil all day under the sun with a hope on the harvest which was dependent on the weather or other conditions, and as a result, uncertainties very much existed and ruled the situation. On the other hand, the factory started offering jobs 9 to 5 with salaries, overtime and even retirement benefits after 60. People preferred this over farming, obviously, is it not? They chose the easier way out. Now, the power shift was towards the industry owners and no longer the landowners, if you can observe. The people considered the owners of the factories as their boss or leader, no longer the landowners. Now, are you able to visualize where the leadership in the present corporate era actually started from? This is where it started. In order to reskill and upskill the farming workforce to make them productive as factory workers, the educational institutions then began. This was merely to convert the independent farmers into factory slaves by training them. Basically, our modern education system, which I consider broken, still has this flavor if you can notice it. What do you think is the end goal of 90% of the students studying in schools and colleges in India today? It is just to get a high-paying job, is it not? This is what I have been observing all through my childhood as well. Very few people think about becoming an entrepreneur and work on their own. It requires their parents to have the financial freedom and the right mindset to groom them into this. The employee mindset began from the industrial era, and this is the same mindset that is due to the broken educational system that is predominant even today. With the advent of factories and the industry, what do you think happened back then? The people who were owning the factories actually started seeing problems. The problems such as labor unions, strikes, employees demanding higher pay, labor loss, and productivity reductions. All these were intolerable problems for the owners. As usual, people do not want to depend on people for too long if it is not conducive, is it not? This is just our nature. So here came the rise of industrial automation because of this situation. With more automation everywhere across the industries, there began another power shift. The industries making maximum profits were considered market leaders. The smaller industries were considered laggards. But within these companies as well, the industry leaders, people managing these automations, namely the IT team, became powerful, and it gave rise to the information era. The IT team controlled not only the automation but also the data which originated from the connected systems. Now these IT resources were more powerful than the industry owners themselves in a particular way, because if the IT workers went on strike, the factories would have to shut. IT folks hence were paid very high, as it was a critical path activity for all these industries to survive. The business owners wanted the same kind of independence. They wanted to break free from the IT staff dependency. This is just human nature that crept in again. As a result, we enter the AI revolution. This is where the machines started beginning to learn on their own. They started taking over the tasks that once required manual programming. And with the AI's generative capabilities, businesses also found that they could reduce the reliance on creative artists and support staffs as well. This shift empowered the business owners with unprecedented freedom. And this started cutting the past dependencies like never before. Now, if you see these days, the power actually lies with the AI engineers and data scientists who actually manage and develop the AI algorithms and train them. Even the data is very critical here. As you may see, the salary trend being high for these kinds of roles is a clear indicator of who is leading in the market right now. We are currently in the further evolutionary phase of the AI revolution, where quantum compute processing and AI performing sentient tasks and possessing and displaying general intelligence is currently under development. The Q-Star project of OpenAI was a classic example of this. In this era, the person who can augment and leverage AI to perform efficiently as a leader is the most influential party. Wow. Now, with this kind of a ride through the evolutionary history, let's take a step back and let's start analyzing what we just learned. There are precisely three things that we need to learn from this. Firstly, if you observe, each evolutionary phase changed the nature of the leadership and the skills that the leaders needed to lead with. Number 2, the skills became obsolete and new skills needed to be picked up. That means versatility was the key at all times. Number 3, people follow a leader only when they trust that their needs are taken care of by that person. Otherwise, no. Among these 3 that I just mentioned, the last point seems to be very interesting to me. Guess why? We all could agree that trust is the key essence for anyone to follow anyone. This is a no-brainer. But on what basis should anybody trust in order for them to accept somebody as a leader? That's the key question here, is it not? Let's consider this age-old pyramid of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a hierarchy of basic human needs which grows from the bottom to the top. Interestingly in this, once we fulfill one level of need, a higher need level emerges. That starts demanding attention. It's an endless cycle that drives us all. It shapes our desires and actions as humans. How is this related to the statement that I made earlier that people will follow a leader only when they trust that their needs are taken care of by that person? Let me explain this. In the case of the caveman brought food for his clan and was protecting them from wild animals, no doubt. This means he took care of their basic physiological need of hunger and a bit of their safety needs also by offering protection from wild animals as well. Since he was delivering this as a value to his clan trusted him to take care of their needs, and as a result, they followed him as their leader. Once their needs were achieved at this physiological level, people started craving for higher level needs of resources, wealth, and property. This then prompted the creative ones in them to invent the business of cattle farming, where cattle became their property or resource. They then started realizing that this could be converted to wealth. Since they had new jobs now, their safety needs were automatically getting taken care of, along with their physiological needs of hunger as well. So now, the caveman was completely redundant and out of the picture totally because they were self-sufficient. The caveman's muscle power and hunting no longer were providing enough value to satisfy all the required needs of the evolved people now. Over time came the need for love and belongingness for the humans, since their prior level needs were actually fulfilled already with domestication. The people, the men and the women folks, were now more attracted to marry only the rich cattle farmers, and as a result, the unsatisfied people who were jealous of this resorted to crimes such as robbing cattle herds and so on. With this kind of a crime rate increase, things started becoming insecure for the cattle farmers, obviously. With the rising fear and insecurities in them, their safety needs became unfulfilled again. When humans are pushed to a corner, you see, that's exactly when creativity to avoid or mitigate the risk actually emerges from us, is it not? These cattle farmers were no exceptions. They evolved and they started agricultural land concept where they did not have the risk of cattle theft. They also had more work-life balance, being owners of their own lands, and they were able to have comfortable love life, and they were able to raise families as well, which meant that they could satisfy the third layer of Maslow's pyramid needs with all of this. After some steady state period, level 4 needs became necessary for humans. People started wanting to fulfill their self-esteem desires of respect, status, and so on. Landowners automatically started enjoying these benefits, and as a result, jealousy became evident among other people who could not own lands or who could not do the hard work of agriculture. Obviously, again, crimes of land grabbing started due to all of this. As it had happened for the cattle farmers of the past, again, the safety needs were in jeopardy. Just that this time it was the landowner's turn. That's it. Ultimately, humans, being creative, always want to find ways out of the risky situation at all times. Our reptilian brain is designed for fight or flight response. Initially, although it tries to flight, later once the dust settles, it finds a way to fight the problem. This led to industrialization and the emergence of factory concept. The need for this started as the granaries were also not sufficient or safe enough to keep the produce from agriculture fresh and safe for a long time. Producing food products were the starting point, and as a result, the factory concept had begun. Working in a factory now gave common people more time freedom, more status, and also the other lower level needs of the Maslow's pyramid could get satisfied with this. The factory or industry owners, however, enjoyed all of it, and in addition, they were satisfied with their self-esteem needs as well. The worry of land grabbing was no longer their problem because they were now owning factories instead. Some of these fulfilled factory owners who actually gained financial freedom and their self-esteem to their desired levels. These people reached the self-actualization phase of the Maslow's pyramid, and those people even started charitable donations and humanitarian aids as well to the rest of the society. John D. Rockefeller's University in Chicago and the Rockefeller's University are both examples of such an action. Likewise, Andrew Carnegie funded the construction of over 2,500 libraries as well back then. These are just some examples of the achievements humans would do when they needed to fulfill their self-actualization need of morality, spirituality, and acceptance. A point to note here is that self-actualization level is not a permanent state that anyone would remain in for too long, because some or the other lower level need would become unfulfilled from time to time, obviously. As expected over time, with labor unions and frequent strikes, the industry owners again started losing their sense of security. This eventually led to risk mitigation by reducing the dependency on humans to run the industries itself. You know how this happened, obviously. Innovation towards automation was the way to go for the industry owners to restore their security and to guard against unions and so on. The robots started replacing humans on automated flow lines in the manufacturing industries as well. Later on, the processes in service organizations were automated using RPA or robotic process automation, which began as a means to reduce the dependencies on humans for repetitive and mundane activities. Industrial IoT with sensors, PLCs, and the shop floor optimization tools became the norm. To manage all these, the information technology staff and teams were critical resources. To generate the performance reports, to KPI dashboards, and any form of system migration or integration, it could not be done without the help of IT teams. As it always is the case, IT salaries started eating into the industry owners' profits, which is nothing but the reduction in their wealth, which is the level 2 need of the owners that was getting affected. What would the owners then do in order to mitigate the risk of their lower level need being in threat? There was a strong need to reduce IT monopoly and the cost escalations in many of the use cases. This then led to AI evolution to come in. AI can not only predict and augment a lot more creative human tasks, it can also power up intellectual capacities of IT traditional job roles, and it still continues to evolve as of today. Did you notice that at each stage of this particular evolution, people trusted and followed their leaders only when their unfulfilled needs were being taken care of due to the leaders' activities? This does not change ever, since this is just basic human nature. If there is one thing history has taught us, it is this: leadership that doesn't evolve, it dies. We have seen the rise and fall of leaders who couldn't or wouldn't adopt to shifting needs and the values of all their followers. This is just the mistakes those leaders did who are no longer there. Also, did you notice that whenever any lower level need was at stake or at the risk of being taken away, that's exactly when a disruption happened in the market. Whenever there was a lack of trust, that is exactly when revolution happened. Trust has always been the unbreakable thread through all these eras, but the skills needed to earn and sustain the trust, those evolve constantly, you see. We are in a pivotal moment now where leaders must harness AI in order to meet today's needs, yet to be ready to pivot to tomorrow's demands, however. We just need to be flexible that way. If this story resonated with you, if you felt the pulse of each of the eras that I just discussed, then you know you are already on the path of your leadership evolution. And remember, a true leader's journey never stops. So let me know in the comments below, what were your top 3 takeaways from today's journey through your leadership's history that you just witnessed. Let's all grow together in this new AI era. I would like to thank you for watching, and I would like to see you in the next video. Have a nice one.